Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
All right, welcome back to the Think Fitness Life podcast. On this podcast, we talk about exercise, we talk about nutrition, we talk about mindset, and mindset being one of the biggest things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, on a lively basis, how to push for more, how to get more out of us, how to go through tough times. Everyone's going to experience these. And today we have someone on the episode that puts himself through tough times, has been through tough times as everyone has, and has a book, Hunger for More in Life, but it's more about diving into the mental side of things. Welcome, JD Tremblay on. How are we doing today?
Hey, how are you
Very
doing?
good. With this book, start off, what kind of drove you to write this book?
Yeah, it's because after finishing the Epicdeca, a lot of people were asking me, how did you do that? And I did not have a logical answer other than it's natural. And I wanted other people to be able to conquer their mountains. And I wrote the book.
Let's backtrack. Where did your passion for competing in these races start? When did that kick in? What was your background growing up?
Yeah, I always strive to push my limits, go into sports. I did a lot of mixed martial arts. I won lots of competition. But then again, I always saw it as a sport and did not really I didn't really enjoy beating up people or being picked on. I chose that because I was getting bullied a lot at school. My dad said, you got to learn how to defend yourself. And I said to my dad, why can't we just pay people to do that? My dad was really offended. My dad was saying, hey, first off, we don't have the money. And second off, yeah, you must learn how to defend yourself. I played a lot of soccer and a lot of other sports that, again, I just did not understand the morphology of how what I had at the time. And I was scared that other people I would get picked on even more because triathlon is about wearing these tight suits and it didn't really fit in. Or I grew up in a small village in the northern part of Quebec. Not triathlon is nowadays starting to make its way up there. And we're talking 2023, 2022. That's when really it started going into, yeah, it was a lot of blue collar.
What started it first? Was it like, did you do a marathon? Did you get on the bike first? What started your drive into triathlons? 'Cause it's always a fascinating kind of background when people come to me like, oh, I'm into triathlons. Like, how'd you get started at this and why?
Yeah, good question. I was always a swimmer. When I grew up, we always had a pool. That was a mandatory factor. My dad was always big on just having a pool in the backyard all the time. We didn't grow up with much money, but a pool was
Mm-hmm.
the main factor. I grew up swimming. I knew how to run, like how to move my body from point A to point B, not necessarily the form itself. And then the cycling it came during my divorce. And that's when triathlon really kicked in. It was the cycling part. I did not know how to bike, but I did not have a lot of money. I did not even have any money to buy a bus pass. And I picked up an old bike that I didn't even touch for years. And I grabbed it, started cycling. And one guy, we were in the military at the time, he said, "You're a diver. Clearly, you know how to swim, you know how to run." And then now I see you cycling to work, not knowing that for me it was about survival. And he said, "How about you just do a triathlon?" And I did.
And how was that first triathlon for you? Was it hard? Was it easy? Or were you just like, this is a feat of physical fitness and capability to push through?
Yeah. The hardest part was the mental side, the pride of not finishing first, like knowing that no matter what, because the triathlon was in like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's quick turnaround.
There's no way you're going to win any competition just by a quick turnaround, 2 weeks. I showed up and it was really the pride part, knowing that I was not going to finish first, but I knew I was going to give my all. I still finished top 10 and I was angry. It wasn't really the physical side, because the physical side, your body has this blockage for most people, this blockage, unless you're in a survival situation where you're able to push beyond your limits with the mental side. The physical side I knew would just slow me down. And then the mental side, I was ready to die of it. I swam, bike, ran, and I finished in the top 10. And the guy was really angry at me because he said, "This is really natural." He saw what I had, I just didn't. He gave me the paperwork to go to nationals after my first triathlon. And he said, "With your time, you qualified for nationals. Next month, you're heading over to Ottawa." And I didn't think much of it. For me, it was just another triathlon, and which I think a lot of people, that what they're about to do, which is natural, they're not understanding their capacity, their potential. They're not understanding. And I did my second, finished fifth. I was still angry because, again, I was not first. I was not on the podium. And again, pride had a lot to play with. The mental side was the major component that was slowing me down.
You get your second one down. When does this idea of the Deca start coming in? And describe the Deca for people listening if they don't know what it is, and what the embodiment of it, what the full scale of that thing looks like.
For sure. The Epicdeca, it's a triathlon. Within the umbrella of triathlon, which is swim, bike, run, you have multiple distances, which many people can see it at the Olympic. That's the triathlon Olympic distance. Now, there is one of those distance that is called the Ironman distance. The Ironman distance in the States is 104, which is in the imperial system, is 140.6 miles of swimming, biking, and running, all under one event. And it has to be completed in a certain amount of time. For that specific race, the Epicdeca, we had 24 hours to complete one Ironman distance, and then pack our gear, fly to the next Hawaiian island, and then unpack, get prepared, finish another one, pack our gear, and one. The Epicdeca is 10 Ironman distance on 10 consecutive days around 6 Hawaiian islands. That's 1,406 miles of swimming, biking, and running in total.
Not easy. And in the book, you talk about one of the hardest things besides doing the actual race was the logistics of getting your stuff and getting people and your team and yourself to the islands. until the race starts. And I found that very interesting because most people would hear you just say that and be like, oh, okay. Like we just hop on over, we hop on a plane, we get there, we start the race. But it didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, it didn't seem like it was like the structure was there, but you're at your own, you have to do it yourself to get your team there, to get your equipment there, to get everything there. And if things don't get there, like bikes or equipment, you got to figure out what to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's really dealing with the unpredictable. When you're not able to train for something, then it gets quite debilitating. And when people lose control of these situations, then the anxiety builds up. And then you have to just make up a situation with all the tools that you have at your disposition. For me, I had a lot to overcome in that race, but the major part was really dealing with the unpredictable.
And you mentioned training. When you had this idea about the Epicdeca, what did training look like for you? You're going from Canada to competing in Hawaii, which is a little bit different environment, atmosphere, temperature. What did training look like for you, time, day, and just how did that fit into your life schedule?
I only had 2 months to train before doing the Epicdeca. I was training for half Ironman and other races, but I was not training for the Epicdeca. It's when one of the racer, because they were only taking 10 people for this race, and one of the guy that was registered, he injured himself. I contacted Joe and I was following him on Facebook. And when he said, I won't do the race, I called him and said, can I buy your registration? And he said, yes, of course you can buy it. You're probably the only person that within 2 months is going to do an Epicdeca. And I approached my coach. My coach was not against it, but he said, just don't get injured and understand that whether you finish the race or you don't, you will ruin all of your other races in the whole year. You just have to be very mindful. My training for those 2 months leading up to the race, because I picked it up in middle of February and then it was in May, 3 months, give or take. What I did was I took 2 Ironman that I was about to do in Texas. I changed my environment, like you said, from a cold environment, went down to the States, to Texas, and then train in the environment that I would have to partake in the Epicdeca. And so I trained on different levels, like my suntan had to be in place because I understood that I come from the mountains in Quebec where it's extremely cold. And now I'm going to go to Hawaii. I built up a tan. I tried to think about all of the variables that I was able to control. One time when I got to Hawaii, I showed up about a week and a half before the race. And I paid some guys, which I thought were professionals. Like I paid them to drive a boat out and drop me in the water with some sharks and teach me, and with no cage, just swimming with sharks, understanding how I would react if I was facing a shark. And that's because I wanted to really be in control of understanding what I was about to partake. And that helped me because on day 10, that's what we did. We saw some sharks and I knew, because the guys told me, that sometimes the dolphins come and then they chase the sharks away. And that's exactly what happened. I was quite blessed to have that situation, but at least I knew what I could handle. And there are variables that I couldn't, and that's what I had to deal with.
That's crazy. Yeah, you just got to also worry about just competing 10, but you in the waters, you have to worry about sharks and other things going down. I'd be like, all right, I'm out of here. Moving to Texas, how was that? Like a pretty big shock to your system when you all of a sudden go down? I assume you're in the Texas heat training. Did that, within the 2-3 months of training, did that like take away, or did you have to have a new like acclimatization or to the new environment? Or was that pretty like you picked it up pretty quick, adapted to the environment, and then you're like, hey, we're going to just now train in it?
Yeah, I trained in it immediately. I only flew to Texas in April, which was 1 month before the Epicdeca, a month and a half, give or take. And I wanted to really train and focus, especially on the swimming part, because the pool were all closed in the town where I was, and it was winter. The way I adapted my training to swimming was I changed the angle of my poles when I was hiking with my son in the mountains with snowshoes, really cold. And I had a sled I was pulling up the mountain. By changing the angles of my pole, then I would use the same muscle groups that are activated when I'm swimming. Now, when I got to Texas, then I focused more on the swimming part. And I had a swim coach, I had a cycling coach, and then I also had a triathlon coach. I had 3 coaches during that final month.
Yeah, most people I would just think that you're going to have one triathlon coach, but it's really you have to have a swim coach, a run coach, and a cyclist coach because they're specializing in different things in different parts of the race.
Yeah, for me, that's what I did because I was running out of time. I knew that I needed the proper training and form to be able to handle the Epicdeca. I knew it was a giant in of itself. I wanted to conquer it, and I was ready to do whatever it took. I paid for the best coaches, and they gave me some challenges. The cycling coach, we were doing some crits around in the woodland area, and I was cycling beside other guys that were really fast, and they weren't bumping into me, but they were really close to me, teaching me how to handle the bike properly, how to change a tire quite rapidly on the fly. And it was a fun time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the training, yeah, but it was really precise because I wanted to, again, become this inspiration for other people to conquer their own mountain.
At any point where the coaches, not second guessing or say you shouldn't do it, but were at any point where they like, hey, why are you doing this in such short notice? Or did they kind of say, hey, we can do this in X amount of time to get you prepared to do it? Because there was no doubt in your mind that you were going to say no or change your mind. From the coach's perspective, a lot of people, I feel like they'll hear, oh, I want to do an event in 2 to 3 months. And some people will think, oh, I don't have enough time to train, to build a base or whatever it is. And in fairness, it might be like the case, depending on how great someone wants to compete at, but they can still go and compete no matter what. And I always say as a coach, like, how do we get you, if you're going to say yes to whatever the competition is, how do we get you to that point to be as best prepared for as possible? So how do the coaches adapt to that?
Yeah, the first one that knew about it, I approached Jeff, and he said, there's no way any coach is going to get you ready for what you're about to partake in. You just picked up an Epicdeca in your schedule while you already have 10 other races to do to compete in. Definitely, I understood that at that moment, I was not going to compete. I was at least going to finish, and finishing was more important than just competing. That I understood, this out of the way. And like you said, they just prepared me to be at my best, not necessarily really knowing that I would be able to finish. 2 of them did not even know that I picked that up 2 months before the Epicdeca. They learned about it afterward, but there's not a single coach that really said, this is a foolish idea, don't do this. All they said was, like, this is unusual. It's never been done in history. Don't hurt yourself, and we'll train you to the best of our abilities, and you will have to make some sacrifices. And even financially, I made some sacrifice because I did not even have that money. I don't have parents that are rich or rich uncles or money stashed away, or I had purchased a house while I was in university, and then I decided to sell my house to partake into the Epicdeca. Talking about burning the boat.
That's right. And that's just should. And in the book, you talk about that, the sacrifice you made for it. And most people, or I was reading the book and I'm like, oh, I would assume when I was reading, this must have been a longer journey because most athletes will have a longer journey. And then I started getting to, oh, this is happening really rapid, like a quick turnaround. Heck yeah, the mindset's there. And you really bought into having sacrifices to have success in what you want. And that's one of those things that people need to understand. These things might not come easy, or like you said, you might not have parents with money or all this. It's like, it's going to take some giving up to accomplish what people want to do.
Yeah, there's a decision timing that sometimes is quite short. You will have only that opportunity. It's difficult sometimes because many people are in survival mode, and their reaction time, or sometimes our value system is not in place strongly enough to make the proper decision. They think that this specific opportunity, such as sometimes like a weird coach funnel, and if you don't act fast, giving me $15,000, then it will go away. They have this fear of missing out, and then they just purchase something that they don't really need. But then there are other opportunities in life that you will have to make a decision, and it might not seem rational to everybody around. To me, I was blessed that I even called one of my buddy and I said, I think I'm thinking about selling my house and going to do this race. No, that's right. I called him and it was about the bicycle. And I said, I'm thinking about selling my house and buying a bicycle. And I was expecting my friend to just say, this is ridiculous. Don't do this. Here's another alternative. No, he just said, wow, this sounds like just like you. Sounds like just a great idea and a great opportunity. But again, the timing wasn't right. I didn't buy the bicycle. I ended up not selling the house at that moment. But when the Epicdeca came, even the coach, Jeff, he said, you can do it next year. How about pick up that race next year? And I said, Jeff, that race only happens one time in history. It's never happened before. And they're not going to do it next year. It's just once in a lifetime. And I just had to make a quick decision, and all the variables that I could not control just happened to be in place. That's why, to me, I say I'm a Christian guy. I say, thank God, all of these variables were in place. And I ended up selling my house and going to do the Epicdeca. And at that moment, I realized, look, I did everything I could physically. I did everything I could to train my mental capacity. Now all these other variables, I leave them up to God. Here it is. That's it. I even went to swim with sharks. I trained. I sold my house. I did everything I could, God. Now, there's your chance. You shine. There you go. Here's those variables.
I didn't realize it's a kind of a one-time thing. How was this decision made? It was like, hey, we're just going to do this Epicdeca and they're not going to do it again? Or is it depends on the year sometimes?
Yeah, Epic 5 was created by a guy called Rich Roll. Okay, yeah, Rich Roll. Okay, Rich Roll did Ironman, thought, oh yeah, I'll do more. He did an Ultraman. Then he said, what's after Ultraman? And then there was nothing after. And he said, well, him and his friend decided to do 5 Ironman in 5 days on 5 Hawaiian islands. He created a company called Epic 5. The Epic 5 company got sold to some other individuals, and those individuals are still running the Epic 5. There's about, give or take, about 40 people that did the Epic 5 throughout all of the years that the Epic 5. For their 10-year anniversary, the Epic 5 company said, how about we challenge ourselves and do an Epicdeca? And that was only for their 10-year anniversary. They did the Epicdeca. 10 people registered, 6 people showed up on the start line, and only 3 finished.
6 people show up at the start line, but out of 10 registers, what happened to the others? Was it logistics? It was just like they didn't make it? Did they bail? Do we know?
No, in terms of logistics, the other 2 finished. I know they don't like that I say that, but it is the truth. The other 2 finished because of my gear. They were not prepared with their logistics. A lot of their equipment failed, but for me, I was prepared that I had a bag. One of my kit bag was filled with spare parts and tires and tubes and all sorts of gear, like nutrition. Like I really planned out everything. When the other 2, their equipment failed, the bike mechanic for the entire event was coming to my bag, picking out all the parts. It was like a bike shop for him. And then he was doing all of the repairs. Now, I'm really fine with them being able to complete it. I'm glad to be sharing it with those 2 amazing individuals. And that's why, to me, I wouldn't have been in alignment with my values if I would have been saying, oh, I'm the only one in the world that finished the Epicdeca, because I withhold certain parts that I had that did not really slow me down at all. Like, to have one less bike part that I did not use, to me, I would prefer sharing it with them. Nothing against those 2 other guys. For the 3 that did not finish, one of them, he bunked on the second day. For him, it was a nutrition problem. The second one, it was about mindset. And it was about mindset. She called her boyfriend, and her boyfriend said, how about you just stop? That's it. You're miserable. And she came to my room and she said, yeah, I'm quitting. And I said, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, but I'm miserable. And I said, this is just feelings. It's going to pass. Just keep going. And that's it. And she said, yeah, but my boyfriend. I said, nah, okay. You do whatever you want. I'm not advising you to quit. This is ridiculous. Plus, you're going to be, I even told her, I said, you would be the only female that finished the Epicdeca. Even if there are 4 or 5 people that finish, you would be the only female. And then encouraging all these other girls. She decided that she would leave, and that's it. We're still good friends. Michelle is still now racing in other events, which is good because now she came back and she has a mindset that is much stronger. And she's saying that I'm not going to listen to anybody else. I am going to do whatever I choose, that I'm going to finish. And again, it was a learning experience for her. And then the third one was, with Julian. It was on the 6th Ironman. He went into a washroom and then it just started pouring out from everywhere. They had to put him on IV and he almost died. He came back, right? He's not dead. He's fine. But I'm thinking it was a nutrition problem with also the sun exposure, like a mixture of both. That's what created the problem for him. And he came back on the 10th Ironman. And he swam with us. He did just the swim and then went back, and that was it. Yeah.
The mental side of this whole thing's got to be hard because you're not getting a lot of sleep. It's not like you're getting 8 to 10 hours of recovery sleep. You're, depending on what time you finish that one race, you got to pack up, transport, and get ready for the next day. And in your book, you really mentioned that you were trying to grab rest wherever and just recovery too, because you're also, the amount of volume that you're accumulating from biking, swimming, and foot contacts and running, like, that's a lot. And it's like this whole mental mindset. At any point for you, was there any thought of, hey, I'm going to throw this in, I'm going to quit? I'm sure you were miserable at some point. Like, you were hot, you were probably hungry. But what was that mental battle through it like? We talked physical. I know there's a lot of these races nowadays that are very physical, but I feel like they really get into this mental grind of, hey, this is distance, it's long, it's just going to be tough. What was that like for you?
There was thought comes that, yes, you want to quit, but to me, I placed myself in a position that I couldn't.
Okay.
I was already in a position that I sold my house. I did not even have a place to return. And the way I saw it was, if I sold my house to do an Epicdeca, I'm going to give 100%. My entire mindset was, I can't fail. And even after the fourth Ironman, my crew chief, she sat down with me in the hotel room and she said, based on the times that you've been putting out for the run or all the other runs, you're not going to finish on time. How about you just rest right now? And instead, we arrange with the organizer that you would jump from the Epicdeca to the Epic 5 instead. You rest the entire day, and then tomorrow you start with the Epic 5. And I said, there's two things that I don't like. One is I wrote down I had made that 30-page list of plan, and my whole plan was really spot on. But I said, in the plan, it says, I will not quit. Okay. They're just not even like, the idea does not revolve. I don't know why you made the decision as a crew chief to go to the organizer and start making some other weird plans to play in my head while I'm supposed to be the one that doesn't have this mental acuity to make a proper decision. You're supposed to be making the life decision. That's not giving me the trust that I need from a crew chief. But secondly, I can't quit. And then she said, how about you tell me why you can't quit, that I can help you? And I realized right away, this is police 101. As soon as the police says that, you just plead the fifth and that's it. And you just don't say anything. I'm here to help you. It's like, you don't say anything. That's it. Just, that's it. There's nothing. You're not going to convince anybody here. That's it. I understood that mindset. My brother is a lawyer, right? He has all these pointers, and then he says, if you ever hear this, that's it. You don't say anywhere. That's when she said, how about you tell me? I can help you. And right away, I just did not even say anything. And I just picked up my gear and I just left and I ran. And the whole time that I ran, I just thought in my head, I can't quit. I can't quit. I can't quit. And I understand that I pushed myself, but I pushed myself so much that on the next day I finished. It was 45 minutes before my flight. I had time to sleep just a little bit while my crew was packing the van. And then they got me to the airport, but now my legs can't work. And when I got to the airport, they put me into a wheelchair because I could not even walk that fast. They put me in a wheelchair and then they pushed me. Turns out it was my birthday and somebody had stolen my pants.
Whoa.
I'm in my underwear in a girl's hoodie. My face is all burned. I look like this broken down individual that lost 50 pounds. I looked like I took 2 shots of Ozempic in the neck. I'm in a wheelchair and I'm dying, and people are looking at me, and then it turned out, oh yeah, it's my birthday. People are, oh, happy birthday, JD. Okay, thank you guys. I'm dying over here. But there's not a single moment that I wanted to quit. I understood that the situation was completely messed up, but that I was willing to go through this time of becoming the person that I'm supposed to. I wanted to. We got to the next island. Half the crew, 2 people went to get the rental car and 2 people went to get the luggage. And when I got into the rental car, my crew chief looked at me and she said, I know you're not going to quit. Here's your gear and we're restarting in 20 minutes. Just suit up and go ahead. Right away, I started formulating another plan. I said, how about I swim the 2.4 miles without my legs, just with my arms. And then I'm going to rest my legs. And when I get on the bike, my arms are going to rest. But then it's right away, I'm trying to make plans to readjust because none of it made sense. But no, not at any moment. I acted on quitting because I put myself in a position I can't quit.
Yeah, and you mentioned those decisions of swimming first.
Have you been on
running
that
first,
journey to look for
biking,
that
whatever?
supplement?
That
Nothing
was
too
an option,
extreme.
correct?
The one
You
you're
could
looking
kinda
for that
pick
gets
and
the
choose
job
what you
done,
wanted
and
to
you
do?
actually feel it.
Oh, you had
No.
to swim
Well, I have
first.
that supplement for you. It's recommend
The first
Man
two,
Formula, Lady
they
Formula, and
put
Clear Focus. Only 3
the
supplements this
running
company has.
first,
Okay.
And that's
then
all
it was
you need, whether
the
you're going to stack
swimming,
them. My
and then
favorite's
we'd have
stacked.
to do the
Man
cycling
Formula
portion
plus Clear
at the
Focus.
end.
If you're
For some reason,
female,
I don't know exactly
Lady Formula,
why
Clear
or the
Focus.
logistic
My
or
squats
anything.
have
It
not been
just
better.
the
My
organizer
lifts have not gone
put it
better. I feel
into
stamina,
the
energy,
schedule
endurance
as
during the lift.
running,
I feel
swimming,
great
and then cycling.
recovery-wise. Throughout the
But
day, I have
all
energy
the other
and
ones
focus.
was
My
swimming,
brain
biking,
feels good.
and then
My
running.
central
And
nervous system is
generally,
turned
it's
on.
like that.
And
Swimming,
most
biking,
important,
There was some different. And with
sexual
this,
function.
you mentioned
When
earlier
I
about
tell
nutrition.
you that
How did
it
you feel
packs
for
a
this?
punch
You're
and
just
gives you
blowing through
what you
calories.
need
You
from
are
a man
using
perspective,
everything up. What
it
was the
enhances
fueling
hormones.
strategy
It
like? Were
optimizes
you-
my
Now,
mitochondria.
I've heard some
and you know
crazy
what?
things
It
about
gives
people
me the
doing
drive and
ultras,
libido
just
that I
slamming
could
ridiculous
never complain
calories.
about.
What was
Plus
your
all the other
strategy for
performance
this?
things. That is this supplement. Recommend supplements putting the cleanest ingredients in their products to be the optimal stop for overall health, performance, hormones, you name it. It's got stuff like Tonkat Ali in there for strength. It's got L-arginine for blood flow performance. Stuff you don't even think about. Then the Clear Focus, we're talking nootropics through and through. Brain health, optimizing focus, clarity. Screw those energy drinks. Screw multiple cups of coffee. My morning routine, I have 1 cup of coffee. I put Clear Focus and I take my Man Formula, I stack them together, and my day is on. And you can take advantage and get on the same regimen. Check out recommend.com. Use code TFL20 for 20% off and get control. Take advantage of your health today.
What my strategy was, I understood that having large meals, I would have to digest and then also train, which would burn calories. Burning calorie while digesting was something that was inefficient for a 10-day event. I turned to veganism and I started eating just fruits and vegetables. In the morning, I would have some oatmeal with a mix of like powders, like greens and actual like protein powder, like 2 scoops of protein powder, which I understand it's not enough. For an entire day, I lost a ton of weight. But that's how I fueled. I was drinking shakes. I would send my crew out to get some frozen shakes at the local restaurants because they have like local fruit. I was enjoying myself eating fruits, and I had a pack in between my bars where I'm cycling. I would just pick like watermelon and just eat them, and then I understood that I needed some salt and also some sugar. At the time I was with Precision Fuel and Hydration, not sponsored, but I had purchased Precision Fuel and Hydration, their product. And what I did was use their sodium products and also their sugar packs. And what I loved about it is that it was very easy to calculate, because if they give you 1,000 milligrams of sodium and then you need it every hour, then for my crew, it was really easy to mix it. And then it was also easy for me to use up. And that's what I did. Only water, salt, and salt tablets, and then also some sugar. And then I would eat some fruits and vegetables to really allow my body to not take up energy on digestion.
Very interesting strategy, because when I was reading, I'm like, oh, this goes against anything that I've read from a sports nutrition of fueling, right? Oh, you need to take in mass amount of carbohydrates during a race and calories, which some people do. But it makes sense from a digestion standpoint that you wouldn't want to just bury yourself with high caloric dense food and a lot, because you're constantly on the bike, and that's going to be a competing physiological thing. You get off the bike, or let's say, because eating on the bike's the easiest, right? You're not going to get on the run and be like, man, I have a full stomach of food, but I have calories. It was very interesting, and it worked. Like this thing, there's many strategies that can work, and it worked for you. And a lot of times liquids are easy to digest. And like you said, you knew exactly the amount you were taking in. It was simple, just, okay, I just keep on this strategy. This is what I do. You don't have to question the other things. Like, I had this, I don't know exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
And for recovery at like they say, at the end of the day, when you were resting or something, would you have a big meal at all, or would you stick to the fruits and vegetables just a little bit more and then get some sleep and then repeat the next day? What did the end of a day look like?
No, the end of the day was just crashing, and that's it. Yeah. I was way too exhausted to think about food. It was about resting. They would put me into my Normatec, not the first two. The first one. Yeah, the second one I didn't get them, but the second one I did. Yeah, I did. I did for both. They put me into Normatec, like my inflatable boots that I was carrying around. I would get a massage on the feet. And the first one, I did it quite rapidly. Still, like, I was still fresh. And they went to get me some, it's not ice cream as in milk. What they do in Hawaii is they blend some fruits and water into the mixer, and it makes somewhat of a sorbet, but with frozen fruits. It's just water and fruit, and then they mix it together. And I wanted to eat that. Really. I sent out my crew to get me, and they said, okay, what do you want? And I said, I want 2 large cups of this for sure. And they went out to get me some of this sorbet type of fruit. That was on the first one, and the second one, and all the other ones were just some drinks with lots of like fruits, like local fruits. And then for the sugar, the carbs during the race, it was only gels. I would know exactly, okay, I have it on the packet. It says 30 grams of carbs. There you go. I have 30 grams of carbs. I understand that. In that next hour, I'm going to need that amount of carbs. There you go. And then I understand the symptoms of it. If I have a headache, do I need salt or not? Or if right now my stomach is gurgling and just... and I'm having some gastrointestinal issue, then I understand I need to slow down on sugar. I understood the symptoms, and then I just played with it.
That's a big thing, I think, like, where listening to your body, people don't realize in these triathlons or these long bike races, because you're taking in nutrition during the workout, like, you're going to potentially have some of these things pop up. Like, your system's just running on high and it's trying to digest. It's going to tell you certain things. For sure.
And then running on high for 24 hours for 10 days. Yeah, it's quite difficult, because there comes a time where now you're almost crashing, but you're in the middle of the bike. You need to understand that this is the moment where you need to stop. I was calling my crew over. We were popping the trunk, pushing all the gear, and I would go in the trunk and just start sleeping for maybe 12 minutes, 14 minutes. Yeah. And I slept in the middle of the road, in the middle of, the race. And then I would pick up my bike and just ride again. It was really about understanding, okay, I need a nap now. And I'm still using this mindset now because if I have too much work and I want to optimize my performance as much as possible, then I understand also that these people that are high achievers, these people that want to peak, they're also resting. And those micro naps can do a huge change sometimes.
Oh yeah. And when you completed it, you knew you were going to complete it no matter what. What was like the sense or feeling when you crossed the finish line, or if you were maybe 200, 100 meters out? What was that sense of feeling like for you? Was it real? Was it not real that you did it? Were you just like shell of yourself at that point?
Yeah, we had a crew issue with other crews. I wasn't really liked by some other folks in the organization. I did finish, but with only 2 members of the crew, and the other ones were sleeping, and they showed up for the picture in the morning. I knew I could finish, but it was like there's 2 pictures. One is the real one, and then the other one is for the organizers, and they showed up. But the real one is when I finished hours before that picture. And I was sitting in the back of the truck, and one guy said, "Hey, you just finished the Epicdeca." It was really surreal. I'm sitting in the back of the truck, and one guy said, "How do you want to celebrate?" And I said, "Here, pass me the pineapple." And then I started eating pineapple pieces. He's here. You just ate pineapple. You just ate fruit for the last 10 days. Like, how about you just eat something else? Or I said, that's how I want to celebrate. There's no other. Everything is closed right now. I think I finished. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Everything was closed anyway. But then we waited for hours for the sun to rise. I was in the back of the pickup truck, and I was just talking with the other 2 members. We were laughing at everything that had just happened, because what happened during those races, when that happened for everybody, not just in the race, is very often you're going through a difficult challenge, and then you're not really analyzing or laughing at everything that is happening. It's a fun experience. It's the adventure of going through the race, not just finishing it and getting the medal. It's about getting to the race and what happened. And now we were really digging into all of these stories that we had just gone through for the last 10 days.
You did that. Now what are you doing? Are you doing more bike races? Are you still in that world? What's life look like for you nowadays? You completed that whole thing, crazy feat. Are you looking for any challenges or other?
Yeah, last year I swam between 2 provinces. We raised the whole event itself with the Gift to Live program, donated $65,000 for chronic illness kids to go to summer camp. I ran the entire circumference of the capital of Kenya against Kenyans last year. I just came back from the island of Malta, where I raced the Trail Half Marathon World Championship not even 2 weeks ago. Again, I'm still competing, still want to do some races. Definitely it's less than the Epicdeca, and the other challenges are elsewhere, like in business or inspiring other guys that maybe have lost hope or they have some depression. And just to be able to know that, yes, there are these people that are able to succeed in whatever field. And yeah, I get to be part of that journey. I would say those are the big challenge right now. Yeah, not necessarily the race. Yeah. The race is fun, but it's part of who or where I was in life. And then now I'm using this to, again, inspire others. I still compete, but there are other challenges in my life.
For the inspiring side, what are you doing on that side of things to help kind of men or young men maybe help find a purpose or push through some adversity in life?
Yeah, we have the Hungry Warrior Academies. We have online courses, online challenges. We have a community. And then we also do guest speaking. I've been to many schools and done some workshops for companies as well. And we are online, as you can see. And that's what we're doing right now. And then we also have a philanthropic side. We're in 5 different countries, providing for thousands of children around the world with housing, and we've given houses away, given clean water to entire villages. We get to, yes, train with the best, I say, because those are the guys that have the heart to get the real transformation. But we also get to provide for children that are born in different environments that may not have the mindset to reach the level that God called them to become. And they need some form of inspiration. And then I get to be a part of their journey.
Love it. And that's for the book, like it's about the bike race, but layered in it is your journey through that hunger for more. And I think that's kind of, it seems like that's where you're really at now. And someone reads the book, they're like, oh, it's more than just a bike race. It was something that helped you understand the struggles of life, push through and kind of find who you are. And now helping other people do the same through whatever endeavors that they might think is that challenge. That's right.
Exactly. Yep. Because we all have a certain limit and we always put it low. That when we discover that we're able to push that limit, that's when we can really discover our purpose in life.
Absolutely. I know we're coming up on close to an hour. Anything else you want to get out?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on
Yeah,
the
we
show.
appreciate you coming on, man.
Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie here from Think Fitness Life. Our entire careers have been dedicated to fitness, particularly how the mind helps the body. We've been around gyms and nutrition strategies for 25 plus years collectively, and nothing harms or helps better than your own mind, untrained or trained. Pushing beyond your limits, overcoming whatever's thrown your way, and making the decision to show up day in and day out as a lifestyle takes more soul than sand. And what I mean by that is when you can get your mindset and heart leading you consistently in the direction of your goals and dreams, well, it's just a matter of time before you have the performance, physique, or quality of life you're yearning for. See, your thoughts will stem from your beliefs, which will then lead you to action, which develop into your behavior and ultimately lead you to results. It's really that simple. Our process takes time and it takes open communication. It's amazing what pops up along the fitness journey to betterment, and we can be there every step of the way. To learn more or apply for coaching, visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com. Start recreating your life today.